So can you describe to me polyamory? What is it? What does it mean? Because there's like different terms.
Yeah.
You have a nice blog post about it.
Yeah, I have a personal definition of it, which I readily admit is not shared by a lot of people. But to me, the definition of polyamory is simply not forbidding your partner from pursuing intimacy with others.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to pursue it. Personally, like two people could be married and only have had sex with each other for 20 years. And as long as they're like, you know what, if you want to go have sex with somebody else, you're welcome to do that.
Well, the interesting thing you said is that doesn't mean they have to do it. They just have the freedom to do it.
Yeah. It's the freedom that matters to me.
Which is, it's called the polyamory post. You have so many good blog posts. People should just go look at read your writing, because it's really, really strong and often backed by data, but also just a deeply honest look at yourself and your understanding of the world. It's nice. It's refreshing to be like, with a lot of stuff I disagree with, but I feel like if I disagree with it, you'll be very open to arguing it and kind of thinking through it. There's just the honesty that radiates from the whole thing. Anyway, so it would be interesting to kind of explore what polyamory, like how it works. What are the different versions? What does that freedom look like? What does that freedom feel like to be able to go see other people?
Depends on you. Like, do you want to go see other people? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So usually for me, I tend to be pretty happy with like one or a few people.
Mm-hmm.
And then occasionally I like some novelty. So usually I'll go like I host orgies sometimes. So I'll host an orgy and then I'll go have sex with people at the orgy. And then that'll be good for the novelty for a while.
Can I ask you about orgies?
Yeah.
So how many people are at an orgy? What's like a standard? We're having a Sunday picnic and it's an orgy. What's like a number of people at an orgy?
Oh, it depends. I've only recently started hosting orgies, but I have been to a lot of orgies. I would say like the median is maybe 15 people.
I like how you say median versus mean. Okay. Median is 15 people. What's the gender distribution usually?
Usually about even. It's like ideal if you can get more women than men in most of them. I've recently been hosting free use orgies, or orgies where consent is assumed by default when you enter. And of course you can revoke it anytime, or go over a whole bunch of rules to make sure it's very safe. You like have wristbands. So nobody's actually doing anything they don't want to. But
wristbands. Nice.
in those ones, you have to have more men than women.
I thought free use was like consensual, like at any time, but it's at any time within the constraints of this building or something like that.
Yeah, so at the orgies, it's like you, by entering, if you wear a wristband, then you are like by default opting into consent. So people don't have to like do a thing where they negotiate with you and like be like, is this okay? It's just the default is like, you just go for it. And if they want you to stop, they say the safe word, like red, don't, and then you have to stop. Mm-hmm. And we do like exercise in the beginning of people saying red to make sure that everybody knows exactly what the rules are.
What's your favorite safe word?
Red.
When
I first started doing like weird kinky shit, I was like, oh, let's make a safe word. And we picked the word foliage. I was like, that's goofy, right? But then there eventually came a time where I did actually, in fact, want to say the safe word, and I couldn't I was like in agony. I was like crying. I'm like, I can't make myself say this stupid word right now.
Foliage.
So after that, I was like, red. Doesn't matter. I don't care. It's not funny. We're just going with very simple red.
Very practical. How does an orgy compare sexually to like a one-on-one sexual experience? Like, what is it? Same ballpark, or is it fundamentally different?
I mean, the experience of both orgies and one-on-one sex can be like really high variety.
There's a high variety.
But you kind of, it's a little bit like you're having sex with someone, but you're surrounded by really realistic VR porn of other people having sex.
Oh, okay, cool.
And sometimes it's like threesomes also, like maybe there's another person involved. But it's hard to like have a whole bunch of people in one cluster, because usually there's kind of different little clusters of people having their experience.
Sure.
I once was part of a 10-woman orgy. It was a total lesbian thing, and that felt like a writhing cluster. It was very nice. But typically, you kind of separate out with like very small pods of people doing stuff.
Okay, so back to polyamory. So what's a good what does it take to manage? Do you have a main partner if you're being polyamorous and you're dating multiple people? Is there usually a main one for you personally?
For me personally, kind of yes. Like right now, I kind of two that aren't. Like I see roughly around, for me, it's kind of just descriptive. Like if I just happen to be seeing you a lot more and I confide in you more than you, like you're descriptively my primary partner. But I don't usually have rules to protect that. I'm down with rules to protect it if you're trying to build something. Like if I buy a house together, I'd be like, okay, we need to like whatever our relationship is, we have to do the thing where we're both paying the rent for the house or the mortgage or whatever. A lot of people do have primary, so it's very common to have like like prescriptive, like I'm gonna get married to you, and you're not allowed to like have anal sex with anybody else, that sort of thing.
What about like the transparency and the communication they have to do? Yeah, I usually try to be super honest about it.
Extremely, yeah. I mean, I've learned over time that like even if it seems like a very small thing, you talk about the small thing. Because often I would just sort of have like a small twitch in myself, like I don't know if I like that, but I'd be like, okay, this is really minor. It's probably nothing, and I don't. If I talk about it, it's going to make it into a thing, and I just don't want to make it into a thing, you know. And I've come to realize that it's worth making it into a thing because I can't predict at the time if like the small feeling I have is going to grow. And then when I grow it, now it's like much more difficult to deal with. So now it's like any little bit of jealousy I have, immediately communicate it. I'm like, I'm a little jealous of you right now. I don't hold that in at all. I used to be kind of like, back when I first started being poly, I used to try to pretend that I was not a jealous person, and that backfired quite a lot.
That's really interesting. So you do still feel jealousy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And like and it's also interesting that you kind of recommend when there's a little bit of jealousy, like to bring that to the surface.
Yeah, just like excessively communicate, even if it feels stupid. Like I feel like a cliche. I feel like a stupid therapist training video. Like I just feel ridiculous sometimes when I'm saying the things, but I've learned over time it's just important to just say the things.
Because like, the traditional view of jealousy is exactly like you said. If you bring it up to the surface, like it's going to sound like you're overreacting to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying like still do it because you're basically, your brain blows stuff out of proportion.
And it's good to like be going through it with a partner. Like I have a partner right now who's like dating this other girl, and he like really likes her, and like went traveling with her and stuff. And I was like, I feel jealous about it, and I have to tell him that, and that way he can be with me in it.
Mm-hmm.
He like holds me when I'm feeling jealous. And it's like a bonding experience, but it's important for me that like he's able to handle it. Like I try not to date people who really freak out when I have negative emotions, because I want to be able to express that I'm upset by something they're doing without it being taken as a demand that they change their behavior.
Right. So he has to be able to skillfully handle that interaction.
He has to be like, cool, all right, you're jealous. Like I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm not going to change my behavior. I'm just going to be with you in that. We're going to sit in it together.
I mean, is some of that just insecurity that he should also just comfort, like basically alleviate your insecurity, bring you back to like a rational, objective evaluation, right?
In my relationships, I love it when people do not reassure me. I like not being comforted quite a lot.
Okay.
And so usually the people I date don't. I'm very gravitating. Like it's one of the things people do to make me fall in love with them is if I say something really like terrible, and they're just like, do not give me any comfort whatsoever. Like that's where my heart gets captured. So I typically am in relationships where I'm like, oh man, I'm so jealous. And they just like do not reassure me at all. And that's good because it doesn't give me an out. Like I have to deal with it myself.
Right.
Like
they're
maybe
still
it is
there
true
to hear it.
that the other woman is better than me. Like maybe that is an actual possible reality. And I don't want to be dealing with my life in a way where I'm like pretending like I'm only okay when that reality is not true.
Would you like them to say that the other woman is better than you?
Yeah. Or that they prefer.
If they feel that?
Yeah. I mean, they should say it according to themselves. Like, oh, I prefer, like, I have a better time with her than I have with you. Then I would want to know that. Yeah.
And even though that might be painful to hear.
Yes. That which can be destroyed by the truth should be.
That which can be destroyed by the truth. What is that? That your ego or something like that?
Yeah, my ego.
So your ego just generally grows and you like the destruction of it.
Yeah. It's like really
so the process of truth.
It's not like a fun experience. Like I've had like guys be like, well, you're not as pretty as I'd like. And I'm just like, oh, so stabbed to the heart.
But then also like, give me your number after.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's kind of beautiful.